Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Saturday, May 27, 2023, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. Enlightenment is the very nature of things, but it's never been said that way. On the contrary, people's minds have been corrupted by creating a goal against nature, giving it beautiful names, supernature. And man was caught in this because of a very simple reason. The nature of things is where you already are. It's not an excitement, and it is not a challenge. And it does not call on you to prove your ego. It is not a faraway star. The mind wants something very difficult for its nourishment, something almost impossible. Only if you can achieve the impossible can you feel you are somebody special. Enlightenment is not a talent. It's not like somebody that maybe you being born as a painter or a poet or a scientist. Those are talents. Enlightenment is simply everybody's very source of life. You have not even to go out of your house to look for it. Going out of your house to look for it, you have missed it. And nobody knows when you will be able to come back home. Enlightenment is nothing but realizing the fact that I am that which I have always wanted to be, and I have never been anything else, and I cannot be anything else ever. The very definition of nature is that you cannot go beyond it. You can make an effort and create misery, anxiety, anguish, but you cannot go beyond it. It is you. How can you go beyond yourself? It is your very life source, your very existence. Wherever you will go, you will be it. There have been records of people whose first experience of themselves was just a belly laugh, seeing the absurdity of what they were trying to do. They were trying to be themselves. That is the only impossible thing in the world, because you already are it. How can you try to be it when you're already it? But the priests, the so-called religious leaders, and all those who have wanted you to be enslaved have given you ideals. They have told you, unless you believe in a certain way, you are wrong. Unless you do the things that they prescribe, you are not good. Nobody ever asked these people who is giving you the authority to decide for others. If you think something is good, do it. But you have no right to tell anybody else to follow you. The great corruptors, the great poisoners, are the people who have created following. Because following simply means you are being put into an absurdity against yourself. You are being told that you have to be somebody else that you can never be. This has created the whole world of tremendous misery. Unless we see the roots, this misery cannot disappear. We can go on increasing our gadgets, our technology, but the misery continues. It is not that only the poor man is miserable. My own experience is that the poor man is less miserable than the rich man. The poor man at least has a hope or a faith. The rich man is living hopelessly. Now he knows that he has done all he could and his life is as empty as ever, perhaps emptier, and death is coming closer. Life is becoming every moment shorter, and he has wasted it in accumulating money, power, prestige. He has wasted his life in being a saint, praying before man-manufactured gods. And all this has been done so that you can never simply be just yourself. A simple morality, that is, never go against your nature. Even if all the Buddhas of all the ages are standing against it, do not pay attention. They have nothing to do with you. They did what they felt was right for them. You have to do what you feel is right for yourself. And the question is, what is right? Cannot be defined by any scripture. It cannot be defined by any other criterion. There is an intrinsic criterion to be understood. That which makes you happier is good. That which makes you blissful is the only morality. That which makes you miserable is the only missing the target, sin. That which takes you away from yourself is the only thing to be avoided. Rejoice in yourself, and you are enlightened. You have always been enlightened. There is no way to be unenlightened. I've tried in many ways, but I have to concede to you, I could not become unenlightened in whatever position, doing whatever kinds of things. I was surprised. Whether I go north or I go south, I remain enlightened. In Japan, they have a very beautiful doll. Perhaps they are the people who make the most beautiful dolls. And this doll is no ordinary doll. In Japan, its name is Dharma. But it is the Japanese distortion of the name of Bodhidharma. The doll is made according to Bodhidharma's insight. The doll is heavy in the legs, very light toward the head. So you can throw it anywhere you like, but it always gets into the lotus, to the posture. You cannot do anything to it. People may have forgotten it has become just a doll for children to play with. But it represents what I'm saying and what Bodhidharma was saying. There is no way for you to be unenlightened. Who has put this idea in your mind that you have to become enlightened? Miss Prim, the elderly spinster, is giving an introductory talk at the girls' college. Now, girls, she says, whenever you go out, remember, no smoking in the streets, no bad conduct in public, and when the men bother you, ask yourself, is an hour's pleasure worth a lifetime of disgrace? Now, girls, are there any questions? A voice from the back of the hall cries, how do you make it last an hour? There are people around you driving you crazy. Otherwise, everything is perfectly as it should be. This is the most perfect world. Nothing is missing. But a few crackpots cannot sit at ease unless they drive a few other people into running after shadows, which can never be realized. And the more those people feel they cannot be realized, the more meaninglessness, the more hopelessness, the greater the feeling of utter emptiness. A sadness settles and becomes thicker as time passes by. Never accept any criterion that makes you miserable. Never accept any morality that makes you feel guilty. Never accept anything that is trying to enforce something upon you against your simple nature. Be yourself, and you are perfect. Move away from yourself, and you are in for great trouble. Move away from yourself, and you are in great trouble. Everybody is in trouble. My own experience of coming in contact with thousands of people is that I've never seen a man who is really miserable. On the contrary, I've seen people enjoying their misery, exaggerating their misery. One feels immensely compassionate that people who could have blossomed into beautiful flowers are shrunken. They've lost their way. They've lost the way to their own home. And everybody is trying to help them to go somewhere else. Become a Buddha. Become a Jesus. Become a Moses. But nobody ever says to you, just be yourself. What connection exists between you and Moses? What are the ties between you and Jesus? But people are worshiping, praying, hoping that someday they will become the ideals of their imagination. Naturally, they are always failures. You are a rose flower, and you are going to be a rose flower. Let the whole world condemn or appreciate. It doesn't matter. Once a man takes the stand that I'm going to assert myself, it has nothing to do with ego. It is simply protecting yourself against the criminal world. Corrupted for thousands of years, you have every right to protect yourself. Not to be poisoned. And then there will be no need in you for any God, for any religion, for any moral code, for any methodology, for any effort to become enlightened. Just being natural is more than you could ever imagine. It's like, do you think enlightenment needs a special place or special time to happen? Every place is special because every place is overflowing with the divine. No place is ordinary. Enlightenment can happen even in your toilet. Enlightenment is not afraid of your toilet. It can happen anywhere. You need not go to sacred places. There are none. By the way, there are none. All existence is sacred. You need not go to Varanasi or Jerusalem or Kaaba. All nonsense. Every place is full of the divine. Every point is special. And what special time are you asking about? Is there a season? A certain climate for enlightenment? Enlightenment is not really happening. If it were a happening, then maybe in a certain soil, in a certain climate, in a certain place, on certain days, it would be more possible. But enlightenment is not happening. Enlightenment is simply a recognition that you have always been enlightened, that never for a single moment have you lost it. You had just fallen asleep. That's why you come across strange experiences of Zen masters. Somebody is passing by the market and hears somebody reciting the Diamond Sutra. Just hearing one line, he becomes enlightened. How is it possible? Just hearing one line from the Diamond Sutra, hearing that you are already enlightened from the very beginning. And it can happen. Because enlightenment is your nature. Your very nature. It is not something outside. The flower is already flowering. You just don't look at it. you go on looking somewhere else. You don't look within. It can happen. It happens sometimes that the master hits the disciple and suddenly the master's staff on his head and something triggers. Thinking stops. Suddenly he recognizes. Comes to awareness. It is said that a disciple was sitting silently meditating for months, for years. And the master came with a brick, started rubbing the brick just in front of the disciple, who was sitting like a Buddha. The disciple had become very skillful in sitting for hours together, like a statue, unmoving. Now, this master was rubbing the brick on the stone, and of course the disciple must have felt great disturbance. He must have felt his teeth on edge. Somebody rubbing a brick just in front of him, and nobody else but his own master. He tried to control and control and control, and then it was too much, and he said, "Stop it. What are you doing?" Master said, "I'm trying to make a mirror out of this brick. Rubbing it, rubbing it, rubbing it. One day it will become a mirror." So the disciple laughed. "You must have gone mad." And the master said, "And what about you? You are rubbing and rubbing and rubbing the brick of your mind for years and years and years, and you do not think anything is going to happen?" Suddenly the clouds disappeared. Yes, the disciple recognized, fell at the feet of the master. The master has to watch for the moments when the layer of unawareness is very thin. Enlightenment can happen any place. It can happen any moment. You just have to allow it to happen. It is not a question of a place and time. It is a question of your allowing it. Whenever and whatever place it can happen to you. Enlightenment is available. It does not come from the outside. When the thoughts disappear, it comes from your inside. When the thoughts are no longer clamoring for your attention and suddenly you are silent, simply attentive, simply alert, it comes from the deepest core of your being. It arises like a fragrance. And once you have seen it happen, it is yours forever. Now, we know there's a lot of people on this planet. I'd say pretty much most, if not everyone, wants to be enlightened. And at the same time, every one of us are scared to. What is that fear that prevents us from relaxing into our own self? Well, the fear is natural because you have to drop your whole personality. And that's all you have got right now. You don't know there is something behind it. You want to gain more. And I'm saying to you to lose everything that makes you. That's the fear. If you listen to the fear, then there is no hope. But in fact, what have you got? Anxiety, anguish, boredom, despair, failure, thousands of complexes. This is your whole treasure. Just look at it. What is the fear in dropping this treasure? Getting rid of your anxiety, throwing away your boredom. But things are really complicated. Why are you bored? And why can't you get rid of it? There must be some vested interest in it. You are bored with your wife or your husband. Every wife and every husband are bound to come to a point when they are fed up with each other, bored. And we see this all the time. But there is a complication. You cannot just say goodbye to your wife. You have got children. You both love them. You don't care to leave those children. There is going to be a fight in a court over who is to have the children. Both can't have them. You have a certain prestige in the society. People think you're one of the model couples because they see you always showing love to each other. When you leave for the office, you kiss your wife. When you come home from the office, you kiss your wife. It's a ritual. Neither you mean anything, nor she means anything, and you both know it. And while you are kissing your wife, you are saying within yourself, to hell with all of this. But the people don't hear what you are saying within yourself. They just see 30 years of marriage, and still they are so loving. As if on their car, the board is still hanging, just married. Their honeymoon seems to be becoming longer and longer. 30 years of a honeymoon. There is no end to it. When you go into society, you pretend. You have to keep people's idea of you as the best couple. These are your investments. Perhaps you are rich because you married a rich woman. If you drop her, you will be a beggar again. You don't care to do that. Perhaps you got a good employment because of your wife's good looks. It is a very strange world. Or your wife's relations, influence. You may lose the job if you drop your wife. So how to drop the boredom? The boredom is connected with so many investments. It needs courage, great courage. Now, it is better to be a beggar without boredom. Far better than to be an emperor and bored, because boredom is spiritual begging. Boredom is spiritual begging. And it never comes alone. If you are bored, there will be despair. There will be anxiety, a continuous tension in the mind. What to do? You have to go on living with a woman or a man you would like to kill. And you have to kiss them. To drop boredom means to make a revolutionary step, whatever the cost. You are not going to drag through your life as a bored man or woman. Because what is the point of living? And you will see all around the world, everybody is bored. Somebody is bored with his work, his job. He never wanted to be a doctor, but his parents forced him to be a doctor because it is respectable profit making. You make the profit, you get the respect, and still you are called a great public servant because you are serving humanity. It is really great. Your parents forced you to become a doctor. You hate it. You never wanted it. You wanted to become a painter, but nobody listened to you. They said, you're crazy. If you want to be a painter, you will die as a beggar on the street. Forget all about this nonsense. When one is young, all kinds of romantic ideas come into the mind. Cool down, boy. We also have seen younger days, and we have also dreamed of great things. But now we know that all those romantic ideas are just a passing phase. If we allow you to become a painter, you will never forgive us. We cannot allow you to become a painter. You want to be a musician, a dancer, a sculptor, but nobody is going to support you. You wanted to be a dancer, and you have to become a businessman. You are bored with it. You really want one day to hang yourself from a tree and be finished with it all. But that, too, you cannot do because there is so much to do. You have to fill in your tax return forms, and the tax department is after you. You don't have time to hang yourself. So many things are unfinished around you. First, you have to finish everything. Then go and hang yourself. But things will always remain unfinished. And the idea of hanging yourself gives a little relaxation, gives a certain pleasure that whatever the situation, there is always an exit. You can always hang yourself. So what is the hurry? And who knows? Tomorrow things may change. You may find the right woman. There is no right woman, no right man. Nobody has ever found one. But the fantasy of finding the right man or the right woman, every couple, when they fall in love for the first time, think they are made for each other. This is the woman he has dreamed of always. This is what the man, the woman has been always thinking of, desiring. But by the time the honeymoon is over, you know that you are caught with a wrong person. You are not made for each other. But you go on fantasizing, perhaps some other woman, because the world is full of women, so full of men. This time, you miss. Next time, now imagine somebody that gets married 3 times, and it's difficult in India to get a divorce. Almost his whole life was wasted. Women were the trouble. The law is not easy, but somehow he managed, because in India you can somehow manage everything. All that is needed is money. And he had money. You can bribe everybody. It is a national tradition and not new. It's very ancient. Indians have been birthing God, or bribing God. So what do they care about bribing a clerk or a judge? When the Indian goes to the temple and says to his God, if I win this lottery, I will present you with sweets worth 5 rupees, or I will give a feast to 11 Brahmins. What is this? And the lottery is 1 million rupees. With 5 rupees, he is trying to get 1 million rupees. Indians have been bribing God for centuries. It is their heritage. Nobody feels bad about it. You can give a bribe to anybody. Neither you feel bad about it, nor he feels bad about it, because he is doing your work. It is almost payment for the work. And he is doing work which is far costlier than the bribe you are giving him. You manage everything. You can murder, and you will be released respectfully by the court. All that you need is money. So one goes on thinking that tomorrow may be different. So this one person changed wives 3 times. He was always saying, this time I'm not going to fall for a woman like the one I'm getting rid of now. She's a real bitch. And I told him, you will always fall in love with a real bitch. He said, this is strange. You go on insisting and then wonder is that you are always right. The next woman proves as bitchy as the first. Third woman proves as bitchy as the others. How do you predict it? You don't predict. You simply know. You know the person. You know what kind of woman will appeal to the person. Why had you fallen for the first woman? Have you thought? Analyze what qualities of that woman have attracted you? And who is going to find the second woman for you? You will again, and you will again be attracted to the same things. You have not changed. Your attractions have changed. You have never bothered that you are responsible for having chosen that woman. That's why 3 times you have got the same kind of commodity, again and again and again. It is not a question of divorce. It is not a question of changing women. It is a question of changing your mind. But people always try to dump things on others. You are in anxiety because your children are becoming hippies. Your girl is taking dope. Your boy is doing everything that is wrong. Long hair, beard, drugs. He has dropped out of the university. You are in anxiety. What is going to happen? You are dumping your anxiety on the girl and the boy, on the wife, and anybody will do. Do you think if your boy was going perfectly straight, your girl was not getting pregnant before marriage, if they were not on drugs, do you think for 1 minute you would have been without anxiety? There are many people whose daughters are following whatever they say, whose sons are doing their education the way the parents want. Still, they have anxiety over something else. They will find some other object to become worried about. If you have children, you are worried about your children. If you don't have children, you're worried about why God has not given you children. This world of ours seems to be really a zoo of all kinds of animals. Dropping the layers of your ego means that you are ready to commit a psychological suicide. It's known as many things, sannyas. Just give it a good name, because if you call it suicide, you will be more frightened. You've come here to be enlightened, not to commit suicide. But the reality is that unless you commit suicide, there is no enlightenment. People want enlightenment, and they don't care to drop anything. They don't want to drop anything, to lose anything. You want enlightenment as you are. Now, this is not possible. You will have to chop out many things which have become almost identical with yourself. And then you're hitting, hammering, and shocking you. And see, everything that happens to you, it's for you to become aware that it is your ego that gets wounded. It is your ego that gets hurt. Not you, but your ego. You're not your ego. Don't follow your fear instinct, because that is going to make you a coward. It degrades your humanity. It is a humiliation imposed by yourself. Whenever you see some fear, go against it. A simple criterion. Whenever you see there is fear, go against it, and you will be always moving, growing, expanding, coming closer to the moment when ego simply drops. Because its whole functioning is through fear. And the absence of the ego is enlightenment. It is not something plus. Enlightenment is not something plus added to you. Enlightenment is you completely one. It is minus phenomenon. You are no longer there. It does not happen to you. It happens when you are no longer hindering it, when you are not. That's why enlightenment is a psychological suicide. Now, many people strive to be a Buddha. Buddha means, as I have said before, an enlightenment. To be enlightened is the most ordinary phenomenon. Now, when I say ordinary, I mean it must be so. If it looks extraordinary, it is because of you. Because you create so many hurdles, and you love them. First, you create the obstacle, and then you try to cross it. And then you feel very elated. In the first place, there is no obstacle. But your ego will not feel good. You must create a long route to come to the point that was the nearest, the most intimate one. And you had never missed it. So don't seek something mysterious. Just be simple and innocent. Then the whole existence opens to you. You will not go mad. You can simply smile at the absurdity of the whole thing that was so near, but you could not attain it. And there was no barrier. It was, in a sense, always within you. It was a miracle how you went on missing it. If the emptiness is real, all that is there, the whole of it, the reality, will be open to you. Not that it is closed right now. It is open. You are closed. Your mind is occupied. When your mind is empty, unoccupied, you will be open to it. And there will be a meeting. And then everything is beautiful in its total ordinariness. Hence it is said that one who has known becomes absolutely ordinary. He is one with reality. To be hankering for the special is the way of the ego. And all the ways of the ego create gaps and distances between you and the real. Be empty and everything will have happened to you, for you. But don't wait for anything special. Nirvana is nothing special. Now, when I say this, what is happening to your mind? When I say, excuse me, that nirvana is nothing special, what do you feel? How do you feel? You feel a little disappointed? In the mind, the question must arise. Then why struggle? Then why make any effort? Then why meditate? Then why these techniques? Look at that mind. That mind is the problem. The mind wants something special. And because of that desire, the mind goes on creating special things. And in reality, there is nothing special. Either the whole of reality is special or nothing is special. Because of this desire, the mind has created heavens, paradises. It is not satisfied with one. It goes on creating many. Christians have one heaven. Hindus have 7 heavens. Because there are so many good people, there must be a hierarchy. Where should the supreme good go? There's no end to it. In Buddhist days, there was a sect who believed in 700 heavens. Think about that one. And in Buddhist days, there was a sect who believed in 700 heavens. You have to place the egos. The highest ego must go to the highest heaven. This is what we're all doing. We have a conception of something special in the end, and because of that special, we go on moving. But remember, because of that special, you are not moving anywhere at all. You are moving in desires, and a movement in desire is not a progress, it is circular. If you can still meditate, knowing well that nothing special is going to happen, that you will just come to a reconciliation with the ordinary reality, that you will be in harmony with this ordinary reality. If with this mind you can meditate, then enlightenment is possible this very moment. But with this mind, you won't feel like meditating. You will say, If nothing special is going to happen, leave it all. I've had so many people say, I've been meditating for 3 months and nothing has happened yet. A desire, and that desire is the barrier. Can happen in a single moment if desire is not there. So don't desire the mysterious. Really, don't desire anything. Just be at ease, at home, with reality, as it is. Be ordinary. To be ordinary is wonderful, because then there is no tension, no anguish. To be ordinary is very mysterious, because it is so simple. To me, meditation is a play, a game. It is not a work, but to us it goes on being work. You think in terms of work, it will be good to understand the distinction between work and play. Work is end-oriented, not enough in itself. It must lead somewhere, to some happiness, to some goal, to some end. It is a bridge, a means. And in itself, it is meaningless. The meaning is hidden in the goal. Play is totally different. There's no goal to it. Or it itself is the goal. Happiness is not beyond it, outside it. To be in it is to be happy. It will not give you any happiness outside of it. There's no meaning beyond it. All that is there is intrinsic, internal. You play not because of any reason, but because you enjoy it right now. It is purposeless. That's why only children can play, really. The more you grow, the less capable you become of playing. Because of more and more purpose. More and more you ask why. Why should I play? You become more and more end-oriented. Something must be achieved through it. In itself, it has no meaning. Intrinsic value loses meaning for you. Only children can play because they don't think of the future. They can be here, now, timelessly. Work is time. Play is timeless. Meditation must be like play, not end-oriented. You must not meditate to achieve something, because then the whole point is lost. You cannot meditate it at all if you are meditating for something. You can meditate only if you are playing with it, enjoying it. Nothing is to be achieved out of it if it is beautiful in itself. Meditation for meditation's sake. Then it becomes timeless, and the ego cannot arise. Without desire, you cannot project yourself into the future. Without desire, you cannot start expectations. And without desire, you will never be disappointed. Without desire, time really disappears. You move from one moment of eternity to another moment of eternity. There is no sequence. And then you will never ask why nothing special is happening. Some people have not come to know the mystery yet. The very play is the mystery. Being timeless, desireless, is the mystery. And to be ordinary is the goal. If you allow yourself to use the word, to be ordinary is the goal. If you can be ordinary, you are liberated. Then there is no samsara for you, no world for you. This whole world is a struggle. To be extraordinary, some try it in politics, some try it in economics, some try it in religion, but the lust remains the same. And innocence is a state of thoughtless awareness. Does it require one to live a simple life? Innocence is a state of thoughtless awareness. It is another name for no mind. It is the very essence of Buddhahood. You become attuned to the ultimate law of things. You stop fighting. You start flowing with it. The cunning mind fights because it is through fight that the ego arises. And the cunning mind can exist only around the ego. They can only be together. They are inseparable. If the ego disappears, the cunning mind disappears. What is left is innocence. If you are fighting with life, if you are going against the current, if you are not natural, spontaneous, if you are living out of the past and not in the now, the present, you are not innocent. To live according to the past is to live an irresponsible life. It is the life of reaction. You don't see what a situation is. You simply go on repeating your old solutions, and problems are new every day, every moment. Life goes on changing. And the mind remains static. That is the whole problem, that the mind remains a static mechanism and life is a constant flux. Hence, there can be no communion between life and the mind. If and when you remain identified with the mind, you will remain almost dead. You will not have any share in the joy that overwhelms existence. You will not be a participant in the celebration that is continuously going on. The birds singing, the trees dancing, the rivers flowing. You also have to be a part of this whole. You want to be separate. You want to prove yourself higher than others, superior to others. Then you become cunning. It is only through cunningness that you can prove your superiority. It is a dream. It is phony. Because in existence, there is nobody who is superior and nobody who is inferior. The blade of grass, the great star are absolutely equal. Existence is fundamentally communist. There is no hierarchy. But man wants to be higher than others. He wants to conquer nature. Hence, he has to continuously fight. All complexity arises out of this fight. The innocent person is one who is renounced fighting, who is no longer interested in being higher, who is no longer interested in performing, in proving that he is something special, who has become like a rose flower or like a dewdrop on the lotus leaf, who has become part of this infinity, who has melted, merged, and become one with the ocean, and is just a wave, who has no idea of the I. The disappearance of the I is innocence. Hence, innocence cannot require you to live a simple life. Innocence cannot require anything of you. All requirements are cunning. All requirements are basically to fight, to be somebody. Innocence simply lives without any idea of how to live. Bring in the how, and you become complex. Innocence is a simple response to the present. Ideas are the accumulated past. How Buddha lived. Live like that, and you will be a Buddhist. How Jesus lived. Live like that, you will be a Christian. But then you will be imposing something upon yourself. Existence never creates two persons alike. Each individual is unique. So if you impose Jesus upon yourself, you will be a phony. All Christians are bound to be phonies. And all Hindus, all Jainas, all Buddhists, because they are trying to be somebody they cannot be. You can't be a Gautam the Buddha. You can be a Buddha, but you cannot be Gautam the Buddha. Buddha means awakened, enlightened. That is your birthright. But Gautam is an individual. You can be a Christ, but not Jesus Christ. Jesus is an individual. Christ is another name for Buddhahood, enlightenment. It is the ultimate state of consciousness. And yes, that is possible. That is your potential. You can bloom and flower into Christ consciousness, and you can never be Jesus. That is not possible. And it is good that it is not possible. But that's how so-called religious people have lived, trying to follow somebody else, imitating. Now, an imitator cannot be simple. He constantly has to adjust life to his ideas. A really innocent person goes with life. He simply flows with life. He has no goal as such. If you have a goal, you cannot be innocent. You will have to be clever, cunning, manipulating. You will have to plan, and you will have to follow certain maps. How can you be innocent? You will be carrying so much rubbish from others. You will be just a carbon copy of Jesus or Buddha or Mahavira. You will not be the original. Bodhidharma says again and again, find your original face. And the only way to find your original face is to drop all imitation. Who is going to decide what the requirement is? Nobody can decide. And any decision is bound to disturb because life may not turn out the way you expect it to. It never really turns out that way that is expected to. Life is a constant surprise. You cannot prepare beforehand. Life needs no rehearsal. You have to be spontaneous. This is innocence. Now, if you are spontaneous, you cannot be Christian, and you cannot be Hindu, and you cannot be Buddhist. You have to be a simple human being. Simplicity is not a requirement, but a byproduct of innocence. It comes just like your shadow. You don't try to be simple. If you try to be simple, the very effort destroys simplicity. Cannot cultivate simplicity. A cultivated simplicity is superficial. Simplicity has to follow you like a shadow. You need not bother about it. You need not look back again and again and again to see whether the shadow is following you or not. The shadow is bound to follow you. Attain innocence and simplicity comes as a gift from existence. And innocent means becoming a no mind, a no ego, dropping all ideas of goals, achievements, ambitions, and living just as it happens in the moment. Now, it's not being celibate, but one day celibacy can happen. But it will not be something to be practiced. It will be something that you will see happening. Certainly, before one becomes a Buddha, one becomes celibate, but that is not a requirement, remember. Remember again and again, it is not a requirement that you have to fulfill so that you will become a Buddha. You simply go on becoming more aware of your mind as the mind starts disappearing and becomes more and more distant from you. As you become unified with the mind, and you start seeing that you are separate, that you are not the mind, you will find many things happening with this disappearance of the mind. I've joined in the meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in from the nose. And an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Enlightenment comes like a bolt of lightning. It can trickle throughout your life like a slow, soothing stream. Investigate today how you casually react to people. Notice if you generally have a protective hardness, lightness, resistance, friendliness, defensiveness, pushiness, or perhaps a needy energy. Watch what typical reaction you have with others and don't change it. Let it change into something else on its own. Be patient with it. Ask it questions that might unravel its past. Don't be attached to what comes about. Simply drop into it profoundly. Choose to be in the your heart of your programming deeply and let the self-realization come out of it. This is the only thing that will stop the habits, and is how you will evolve quickly in your consciousness. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, and the following morning. And we will return here Sunday, May 28th, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of deepest eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on around you, outside of you.